Well, I'm back from vacation. This is the Datalink you asked about. This Datalink does not use the SIK portion, radio portion of Mission Planner. It has its own configuration program, which is in downloads right here. I'm going to go ahead and download it because I ordered one of those, or actually it's a pair, two of those. Because if it does what it says it does, then I'll finally have the telemetry I want. So you have to download this program and run it to configure those radios. I don't have any to connect to this program at this point. They say it'll take 5 to 9 days for mine to arrive. So there, that's download, so I can use it later. In their firmware and manuals right here, it also shows out front. They don't give a lot of information, but from what you can see right here, and I can scroll down to it, in their documentation, you're going to be using, I suppose, either one of these data ports for connecting to a flight controller. This, I'm pretty sure, will connect, perhaps here, don't know until mine arrive. What you'll be using on the ground control station, perhaps both of them work, I would imagine. Going down to, I'll be using the UART connection method to the flight controller. Don't know about their CAN. They don't tell much about it here. And this is about all you get. It shows I'm going to have to scroll in on this if I can. It shows that one of the wires coming out of the radio, it shows it as plus and minus. I would think that would be supply voltage on the red and ground here. That's the way I'll be connecting it. And here's TX and RX. It looks like the image is very blurry. This is their PDF. I wish it was a little more clear. Maybe it's labeled on the radios itself. I don't know yet. Mine have not arrived. But you can see right here, they're crossing transmit on the radio over right here to receive on the flight controller, and receive on the radio crosses over to transmit on the flight controller. That's so they can talk. Again, I don't have these radios in hand yet, so I can't play with it. But I would say they basically come configured out of the box. The only thing you might have to do, let's go back up to their specifications and see if there's anything about baud rate. Nope, nothing there about the air unit. Looks like the output port of the ground unit is the USB-A, the one on the end, not the micro USB. 115/200 is the default baud rate. So I would say this USB-A right here would be connected to the ground control station, whereas this port would be used for upgrading. Again, not having them in hand, I cannot tell for sure. Seeing this one has no USB-A on it, I'm sure you have to upgrade the firmware in this one That sort of tells me that these ports would be used on both units for upgrading, and these ports would be used connected to the flight controller. This would be connected to the ground station. That's about all they show here. I don't know if there'll be more documentation with the actual units when they arrive. They probably won't be here for a couple of weeks. I'll do a public video on them when they do arrive, how I hook them up and how I find them to work. Let's see. Check baud rate on the flight controller, upgrade firmware, connect to PC. Not much here as far as information. Common with all FPV, since the stuff started, if you get documentation at all, it's not very good. Now out here, again, let's see what this says. It doesn't give me any more information there. Let's see what might be. Nope. And this documentation, this is just a little bit better picture than their PDF, where transmit is going to receive and receive is going to transmit on the flight controller. They just show this as plus and minus. Again, I think the plus will be your supply voltage and the minus will be ground. So if I were hooking this to, let's say, an H743 wing, here's a flight controller, here's a UART transmit and receive, 5 volts and ground. Let's make sure 5 volts is sufficient for this. Probably need to go back to their specifications. Specifications here. Show 2 baud rates, either 57,600 or 115,200. You would want to use the fastest you could possibly use. Ground unit. Working voltage 5 volts. So yeah, that 5 volts would be perfect for it. Also 5 volts on the air unit. So probably, seeing this has historically been the telemetry port on this particular flight controller, this has been historically the GPS / compass, and this the RC receiver input. I would just use this, although UART1 could be used right here for transmit and receive and pick up the voltage over here. That's all up to the individual. You could pick up the voltage here, ground and 5 volts here, and use UART3 here for your transmit and receive. I generally use UART3 for my smart data on my video transmitter, because it's all right there together. That's why, particularly on this, would use this. It is a telemetry radio. This is historically the telemetry area. This controller does not use the clear to send, request to send functions. Only 4 wires. Ground, 5 volts, transmit and receive. Now, this voltage right here is not developed on this particular flight controller until the flight battery is applied, connected. This 4V5 voltage is powered from USB, so that's why I put my GPS here, my RC receiver here, connect to it USB in the field, while I get my equipment out, let the GPS start collecting satellites. Then when I click in my flight battery, connect my flight battery, the 5 volts comes up. But that's just because of this particular flight controller. So if I were going to hook it to 7, UART 7, on this particular controller using Rue Pilot, I would come in here and UART 7 right here is serial 1 in Rue. So I would go into Mission Planner, go to serial 1, make sure my baud rate, I would probably leave it exactly like it is right now. My baud rate 57,600. I would see if that would work. The serial 1 protocol would either be 1 for Mavlink 1 or 2 for Mavlink 2. That flying help pops up when you mouse over that junk and gets in the way. I would probably start out with Mavlink 2. That will do the best messaging back and forth. If that did not work, I don't think the radios say if they use Mavlink 1 or Mavlink 2. I think they're just passing packets, so that would be outside of the radios themselves. They would just pass Mavlink packets. So either one would work. I would use 2. Once it works in this fashion, I would probably step this baud rate up to 115,200 and see if they work there. So in this case of hooking it to serial 1, serial 1's already set by default for telemetry radios, but let's say it was serial 3. We'll look at that real quick. Yeah, see, serial 3's default is a lower baud rate of 38.4, and it's set up for 5, which is GPS. So if you were hooking it to serial 4 here, serial 3, I'm sorry, you would have to go here to 57 for starters, and you would have to change this to a 2 for starters. I will do more on this when these radios arrive in my hand. I don't think that much has to be done to the radios out of the box. Just make sure an area like this is set up correctly for Mavlink data and the correct baud rate, and everything should work out of the box. But they don't give me much information on that. Let's see if they say anything here. Transmission data, working frequencies, antenna gain connector, dimensions, weight. Nope, they don't say. I think they just pass the data that's sent into it. They're simple packet radios. These are just working at a different frequency, but you do not use computer's kind of slow today. You do not use this setup on those radios. I'd say it will not work. This might not even be set that you can change the frequency here to be 24. So use the program that the manufacturer recommends, which again is this assistant right here. Not sure if this is a special version or add in to Q ground control if you're using Q ground control instead of Mission Planner. Let's see what else we find over here. Well, don't find too much over here in their library. Frequently asked questions. Don't find too much there either. Anyway, I ordered a set of them because if they'll go 10 miles, that'll do what I need. Excuse me. And I do need a telemetry connection that will work at range, which I've been having trouble finding. So that's about all I can tell you for now until mine physically are in hand. Thank you for the question, because your question led me to ordering a pair of these for myself so I can see if they actually live up to the range that they claim. I don't actually need 10 miles, 15 kilometers, approximately 10 miles. I can do with much less than that, but my Crossfire and other telemetry solutions do not work at a range more than 50 yards, some of them. So that's all I have for now until I get them in hand. Again, thank you for the questions. If you have any more questions, just hit me up with another message. I'm going to make this video public so all can see my answers, so all might look at these radios for their own usage. Thank you again.